All right, great. Well, thank you everybody for joining. We appreciate your time. I think Dr. Trujillo just has a short couple things he wants to go over, and then we will take questions. If you have a question, please put your name in the chat, and then we will call on you in the order of that your name goes in. You'll be able to ask your question and then or comment either way, and then Dr. Trujillo can respond if needed. So Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I hope everybody is well. I do apologize for my delay. Thoughts, obviously, with the Tucson High community, tough day out there today. I've been working in education for several years, and there are some tough days when you work in public schools, and there are days where the pride and the wonder you feel and the students and the work we do is just unstoppable. And then there's other days where young people let you down with their decision making, and today's kind of one of those days. And those of you that work with young people and teenagers know that happens from time to time. And we're just glad that today out there at Tucson High, everybody's safe, staff able to return about their business, campus able to return about their business, and we'll continue to support that wonderful community. And we know tomorrow's another day. I see Mr. Schuster out there. Think you were on campus today. With that, we're going to go ahead and begin. This kind of my favorite part of the job. I want to start doing a little bit more of these now that we've discovered this tool of Zoom. It doesn't hurt to connect with our employees. Try to get one of these in every 9 weeks just to kind of hear what's on your mind. It gives me an idea, it gives me an opportunity just to talk directly and engage our employees directly about the happenings here in the district and sort of our big focus areas of the moment. Just want to take a few moments to kind of talk about what our major areas of focus are at the moment, and then really just turn the rest of the time over to you. A lot of topics, obviously, that I want to be able to address or be able to give you a little bit more information on. But first and foremost, we're in that part of the year where we are trying to land this plane and get to the end of the school year, squarely focused on graduation. With regard to graduations, thankfully, we're in a place with community spread of COVID-19 where we do not anticipate any of our activities around the graduation season being affected by restrictions. Outdoor ceremonies pretty much on tap for all of our high schools. So we're excited for a fresh round of graduations this year. This year we're doing something different. We broke our high school graduations up over 2 days. So we'll be able to get out there and see more of them. So I'm excited to be a part of the graduation season festivities. We've got honors and award banquets and breakfasts, and we've got those graduation ceremonies coming at us. So we're very, very excited about that. We're excited about all these stipends, and we know that times are incredibly rough for our employees. And we know that inflation is a killer, 40-year high. Gas and groceries and rent, the daily cost of living has just been absolutely astronomical in the last year. And we believe that with these ESSER dollars, the investment of $69 million into $2,500 stipends for all of our employees eligible for up to $2,500 every 18 weeks over a 3-semester period. I mean, just think about that, just 3 semesters for coming back to us and serving our kids and community. That's $2,500 per semester, $7,500, our way of saying, number one, thank you for serving TUSD and sticking with us through this unprecedentedly hard time. And number two, times are tough. And we can sit on these ESSER dollars and we can buy more PPE, we can buy more equipment, we can buy more technology. We can certainly put those dollars to use, but the urgent need right now, we believe, is to take care of our employees. And I'm thankful that our governing board took that action and saw things the same way. And that all of you on this call would be able to benefit from the additional compensation. So we're very, very excited about stipend. And then lastly, before I throw it over to your questions, is strategic planning. The district, of course, we're embarking on a brand new strategic plan, and couldn't be a better time because COVID has been incredibly disruptive, but it has sort of redrawn the entire landscape of education and what we know about educating kids and what we know about engaging our workforce and what we know about collaborating with each other. Is all these new platforms and new ways to collaborate, including today, just using this platform and interfacing with 40 or 50 different employees from 40 or 50 different corners of the district. Didn't think I'd be able to do this before the pandemic, but it's an optimal time to revisit our mission, our vision, our focus. What are the opportunities now that we have as an organization to lead and serve? What are the strategic priorities that we want to set moving forward in this new landscape? What are the values that we just not only want to talk about, that we want to live, we want to embody, we want to focus on as an organization? So it's an optimal time to engage in strategic planning. Throughout the pandemic, we had an opportunity to gather some teacher leaders, some of our association leaders, site administrators, district office administrators, even some district community members and stakeholders, and really through a series of focus groups start talking about these key questions, these essential questions. What do we want to be about as an organization? What do we believe our mission and our focus should be? What was born of those conversations is the draft strategic plan that you see up for public comment. I invite you to check it out. It's a link on our webpage. Check out the work of this amazing steering committee that put forth this product for your review, or check out any one of my strategic planning forums. Did a series of 3 forums over the last week and a half. Took me to the friendly confines of Saguaro, and then out there at, I was also at Pueblo High School, and I was out at Catalina, and able to interact with our community and talk a little bit more about our strategic plan. But the spirit of those forums and the spirit of the strategic plan is this: there are some tremendous challenges that all of us are going to be facing as an organization. 3 specifically brought on by this pandemic that nobody asked for, but they're here. We have the incredible disruption to learning that all of you have seen in your classrooms and on our campuses. I won't say it's loss of learning, because students that learn skills and they learn concepts and they learn subject matter and they master it, it stays with them. But what happened in March of 2020 is that a significant portion of TUSD student body that was already not reading at grade level, that was already not doing math at grade level, that wasn't algebra ready yet, that wasn't reading fluently by 3rd grade, well, their journey was halted, and it was halted for 18 months. And the educational mode of delivery that was brought in to replace it overnight, online learning, agitated an already difficult situation for students that were already not learning at pace, were already coming in with some skills challenges, and created a situation where students have to gain ground and make up ground. And that has been disruptive. It has been destructive, to the ongoing educational efforts of all of you, and to the ground and the content that our students had learned up to that point. So it's definitely been difficult to deal with. So the interrupted learning piece, significant challenge that we have to face together. This unprecedented nationwide labor shortage has just been incredibly difficult. It's been also disruptive, destructive, and detrimental to the work that all of us do. All of you see it and you feel it. Whether you're a teacher that now has to run a combo class because of that vacancy down the hall, or you've got larger class sizes and you got to take over cap because there just wasn't any applicants in the pool. And that vacant teacher's class had to be spread out amongst 3 or 4 different teachers. You're working a 6/5. You gave up your prep period to cover a vacancy. You're a parapro, and you're now in more difficult assignments, larger assignments, or you've got to rotate. It can go on and on and on and on. You're a counselor with a higher caseload now because you couldn't get that other counselor position covered. You're a driver for us, and you've got to take on a bunch of extra routes and overtime because we couldn't get that we couldn't get that position filled. You're a behavior monitor on one of our buses, and the amount of students now that you got to supervise almost double because we haven't been able to fill those monitor positions. And the nationwide labor shortage that's rocked Pima County, Tucson, state of Arizona has really, really rocked TUSD. And it's created a lot of frustration, anxiety, tension, more difficult working conditions. We got to solve that. We got to solve it together. We've got to take care of some of the wage disparities that we've already taken some action on with regard to compression, but there's more that we've got to do. And then lastly, I'll say one of the biggest challenges that we're going to have also going forward is we've got a lot of ruptured relationships with the families that we serve. Significant portion of TUSD's community, they have differing thoughts on online learning, anger with the district about online learning, anger with the district on the stance that we took with regard to trying to keep all of you safe with masks, angry with the district on the stance that we took with vaccines, blaming the teachers, blaming our principals, blaming our local schools for conditions beyond our control, for lockdowns and restrictions out in the community, frustrations with online learning, frustrations with technology, frustrations with the internet not working. We have got to, in this work with this new strategic plan, work at building a bridge and bringing those folks back into the fold. And we've got to be a district for everybody, and that's going to start with me. There's a lot of hard feelings out there as we still continue to try to navigate our way through this pandemic, which, by the way, is not over. Okay, we're just in a different phase of it. But we've got to find a way to get those folks back into the fold because without parent involvement, even the involvement of parents who don't always agree with us, it's hard to move the district forward. And while we have these threats and while we have these challenges to our work, we also have these incredible opportunities. I don't want to be 100% doom and gloom, but I also want to talk about the opportunities that we have, right? Just like we've got these challenges. Well, what did the pandemic bring us? They brought us a one-to-one district. It's absolutely amazing now. Everywhere we go, every kid that needs one has a device. Every family that needs internet now has internet in the home. It's changed the face of this district and what we're capable of doing in the classroom. In my walks and visits, I had the opportunity to visit just shy of 65 schools this year. I've seen technology used at a rate I've never seen it before. I've seen teachers comfortable in ways that they haven't been previously. That's a positive. We're going to have to build on that momentum to be able to meet the needs of this new style of learning that we've seen with these kids, especially our kids coming up through elementary, coming up through the K-5, because their learning style is even significantly different than the 12th graders and the 11th graders that we see getting ready to exit our system. Collaboration. Boy, we have so many incredible new ways to collaborate with each other, to glean ideas, to get feedback, to really contribute to the growth of Tucson Unified, to our innovation. We can leverage this. All these different platforms. Teachers no longer need to be in the same place and time to be able to share ideas, to engage in teacher collaborative work. Administrators, stakeholders, employees, we don't all need to be in an auditorium to be able to exchange thoughts and ideas in this way. So I think collaboratively, we have just incredible opportunities now to transform this organization. This is going to be absolutely amazing. And I think a third huge opportunity that we have is the Tucson Unified Virtual Academy, an entirely new way of educating kids. If you would have told me 5 years ago when I arrived in this district that as superintendent, we would be able to employ teachers living in Chicago, New York, LA, Denver, never stepping foot on TUSD property, but fully educating classes of TUSD kids 100% virtually, and kids in 25, 30 different locations. I would have never dreamed that that was possible. And now we have that platform that serves just over 2,000 students. We have discovered a segment of TUSD student body that really doesn't care about what's going on with the pandemic, with masks, with shots. They actually truly legit love remote learning. They've discovered it as a vehicle for them. They want to be there, and it's thriving. And I think that those are some amazing opportunities that we have to leverage to be able to meet the challenges before us. And I'll say part of that labor challenge that I talked about is our board and our administration, and I think you're going to see this in some coming meetings, really taking on the issue of some of the wage disparities that we see with some positions that work for us that can go out and make more money in the private sector. And those are some serious challenges that we're going to have to be taking on. So that's kind of my just quick update. I want to cede the rest of our time together over to all of you and kind of hear from you in terms of what's on your mind, thoughts, concerns, suggestions, feedback. And I think as per our protocol, I think Leslie, you're going to be in charge of this portion of the proceedings, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Trujillo. So our, just as a reminder for those who may have joined it a little bit later, if you have a question, if you would put your name in the chat, then I'll call on you in the order that, that you're in. So our first question comes from Dolores Tavera. So Dolores.
Hello. I guess mine isn't really a question, but a suggestion. Some of my sub friends have told me that they're not allowed to take professional development this summer. I haven't asked anybody official, but they have told me that they have asked people official and they were told, no, we're not eligible. And, you know, you're going to need some long-term subs. I'm concerned because I want to be able to take the Canvas course, you know, just in case there's a position that I want to take. We always have to learn at the beginning of the year. You know, you find out you get that job the day before school. I don't have time to learn a computer program the day before school. So I wish you would allow us. And by the way, I signed up and I wasn't blocked, but other people who have asked if they're allowed to take it have been told no. So
no, that's great. That's, you know, absolutely. We want our subs engaged in professional learning with a gentle but. Okay, so I'm just going to say, but, all right, you may know what I'm going to go next, Dolores. Okay, so those of you on a call, subs, we have one of the most, I think, innovative approaches to sub work where we don't, there's a lot of districts that with their subs, they have permanent subs and they're assigned and they have schedules and they have places to be. We really don't. We have a structure where subs can work for us. They can choose to take jobs. They can choose where they go, the frequency which they work. Now, in exchange for that, you know, we do ask that when we start talking about things like professional development, we ask that the person is at least working, and we can define working, but I will say that I want to support, and I will support, of course, subs that have rendered basically full-time service for us, taking these full-time assignments, taking these long-term assignments for us, and they want to do a little bit of they want to do some professional development. Absolutely. Honestly, we want that because you're stepping in, you're taking over these jobs. Our teachers go out for a variety of reasons, LOAs, leaves of absence, unexpected for illness or for any other medical condition. We're going to need subs in there longer than a day. And these long-term assignments, they can go from a week to a semester to the rest of the year, and you got to know your attendance and you got to know things like Canvas. So I certainly will make sure and have that conversation with my leadership team around PD opportunities for our subs.
thank you.
Great. The next question comes from Ron Lancaster. If
Hey,
you could
Ron, how are you?
Can you unmute yourself, Mr. Lancaster?
Yes.
Thank you.
How about that? Yes, my name is Ron Lancaster. I've been a sub for a long time. I used to work at Sabino, but for the last 15 or 20 years, I've worked steady. Recently, I had to go to the hospital for an operation, and it went bad, and I had to spend another 9 days. And then I get out, and I find out that I don't have very much sick leave, like 3 days, but I've been working a long time, and I was working for ESI, and I found out that they didn't transfer any sick leave over, and I'm wondering why. I don't have the resources to go about finding out why, and I was wondering if you could help with that, or do you know anything about it?
Well, I'm not the expert in the Benny's area, so I wish I could address it on this call, but I do have our employee relations director for the purpose of these types of inquiries. And this is, you'll see Miss Maricela Mesa on this call. And I'm going to go ahead and ask Maricela to follow through and follow up with you. So she can kind of walk you through what your options are and maybe connect you to the benefits department.
Right,
Maybe get you the accurate information.
right. Thank you.
Are you feeling better?
I'm feeling that I had an infection in this, and so they're fixing me up. They're fixing me up, but it was a surprise when I didn't have any sick leave. So, and because I had to make rent and everything, you know. So, thank you.
We'll get you some follow-up.
All right.
Great. The next question comes from Emily Bennett, and unfortunately her microphone's not working. So I'm going to read her question.
Okay.
She says, as a guest teacher, I'm experiencing student behaviors that seem out of control. I hear racial and homophobic slurs, witness fights, come across students frequently roaming the halls during class periods, dress codes not being followed, and a general lack of respect for adults and one another. How will the district be handling this, and when do we think this will start to happen?
Well, number one, we have seen an increased amount of student management issues this year. I think that when you have any situation where you have thousands of young people out of school for 18 months with no schedule, no structure, not having to be any particular place at any particular time, all of a sudden back in a small place where there are now schedules and expectations and what you have to do every 50 minutes. Yeah, we're seeing these problems. Two things. Number one, we're going to do some very focused work with our principals this summer on the role of disciplinary teams on our campuses and resources that are going to be needed in order to manage some of these behaviors. We're going to have to probably go up into the code of conduct as we're now starting to see some of these behaviors, and work with our plaintiff groups to start modifying the code of conduct so that our consequences are going to start to match the severity of the incidents that we are starting to see around the district and that we have seen through this return to school. I think that also there's a parent component piece. I think next year we have to set some goals in terms of returning to some of the larger scale, grade level, classroom level assemblies that used to happen frequently, that focused a lot on behavioral expectations, that focused a lot on positive behavior interventions, and focused a lot on what happens in school when you make great decisions. When you communicate constantly to a student body all of the great things that happen when you make great decisions, it's kind of has the same effect of pulling them in and telling them what not to do, right? You can incentivize them and create an environment that helps them to make great decisions. We haven't been having any kind of those assemblies, any kind of those activities, haven't been purposefully engaging our students and incentivizing them, reconnecting them to the tenets of some of our PBIS work that we've worked so hard on this district. And I don't think it's anybody's fault. I just think it's been a casualty of the pandemic. I think that so much focus has been on quote unquote learning loss, interrupted learning, the pressure of getting the students back in, the pressure of catching up with curriculum, the pressure of pacing, the pressure of making sure that students are ready to take this new AZ Merit that's now called the Arizona academic assessment of academic skills, which by the way is horrible to throw on the school system this year. It's horrible. But all of that and then still managing all the mitigation and still trying to manage the fall semester with all the COVID still going on. That important work really did fall by the wayside. It really did. And we're starting to see, as we get deeper into the school year, the student management issues, but it's going to be a different year next year because it's going to be a huge point of emphasis going into the work we're doing with our principals and the work that we're going to be doing with our students and our parents come in the fall. We have to reconnect on this aspect of the school experience. It's not just the academic stuff. We've got to step in and address these behaviors. So we're going to be doing it in a variety of ways. do appreciate the comment. And I will just say, anybody on this call, any fight, any racial, homophobic, religiously intolerant, culturally intolerant, inappropriate, and offensive commentary made by any student or staff member, that needs to be immediately reported as urgently as a fight. Don't feel as if you have to tolerate any kind of language of that nature coming from anybody. We have policies around that, and that is not something to walk away from. Thank you very, very much for the question.
Thank you. The next question is from Melissa Schmidt.
Hello, Melissa.
Hi, thank you. So I am an exceptional education teacher, and it's been a very difficult year for ex-ed. I wanted to just maybe raise a couple concerns. I tried 4 key things that I think we could do a better job improving, if that's okay.
Oh, that's great. Let me, I'm refilling my water. I'm gonna grab
Okay.
my pen so I can jot some things down. All right. And Melissa,
Okay.
what school do you work at?
I'm at Naylor, and I'll be at Palo Verde next year.
Oh, okay. Okay, that classroom looked familiar. That's why I was asking.
Okay. So the first thing is that I hope you're aware that we desperately need social workers. We have kids with lots of problems, and they have social work services on their IEPs, and we're not able to meet those. So I don't know if there's a couple issues with that, but pay and otherwise. So that's maybe a big one. I think if we can make that a priority. The other is the BEST team. And I know that you put in place the BEST team to help ensure that kids were getting a fair chance, and we went through their due process rights. But it often feels like the BEST team is coming in and hijacking the show, that you have teachers and psychologists and principals and speech language therapists and resource teachers and all these people on the team who make decisions. And then the BEST team comes in, one person, and says, no, I'm calling the shots. And it feels like it's become more of an obstacle than a help. So social worker, BEST team. My third concern is compliance, that often we are, as exceptional educators, we're not given any instruction or guidance or training and changes that they want to see in the IEPs. And instead we learn through correction. So we do an IEP, same way we've been doing it for years. And all of a sudden we're told this isn't okay. You have to do an amendment. You have to call parent. You have to, it undermines us. It's embarrassing to call a parent and make a clerical correction. And these are usually things that are very petty, and they don't have to do with federal mandates. They have to do with the kind of TUSD Just Nolan thing. So I think if we could get training in advance rather than learning by correction, it would be a more professional approach. And then maybe my last concern is synergy. We need some support there because we don't have good systems for identifying exceptional ed kids. They show up on a homeroom or a gen ed teacher synergy page with a little backpack icon. But if the teacher's not bringing it to the attention of the special ed teacher, it isn't, we don't know often until somebody runs a report or it's out of compliance. So we can very easily miss kids because our systems are not bringing these kids to the attention of the people who need to know.
No, thank you very much. I am working with the ex-ed department to set some large-scale departmental goals for next year. I'm going to make sure that we have this conversation. The social workers, duly noted.
Right.
My previous meeting here, even before coming in, we had a discussion about the social worker salary, and that's something we're definitely in the works. We know that's a need, particularly the MSW level social workers. We do need them. And then anytime you get an LCSW that can do the clinical work, that's even better. So duly noted. Thank you very, very much for the feedback.
Thank you.
There we go. Sorry. Our next speaker is Susan Soto.
Yes. Hello, everyone. First, I'd like to say that I'm a TUSD sub, and I've been back full time since August, and it's been great to be back. I would also like to start by thanking Dr. Trujillo and the TUSD board for the the rate increase to 160 after 20 days. I know many subs, and it's really greatly appreciated, especially in light of inflation that we're experiencing. My question is, I'm wondering if Dr. Trujillo, you're considering cutting that rate if schools reach the 75% fill rate moving forward.
So at this, can you just repeat the question one more time? I know your question has to do with the standard rate that we incorporated, right?
Yes, my question is, are you considering cutting the 160 pay rate increase after 20 days if a school reaches a 75% fill rate, which happened in the past?
At this particular moment in time, we have not discussed that particular adjustment, okay? So that we, at this time, really no imminent plans to do anything. I think if we were gonna move in that direction, I would certainly make sure that Ms. Hoyser from HR and obviously Ms. Mesa, that we're having a discussion with our sub-working group.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Our next question is from Judy Winsberg. And again, she doesn't have a microphone, so I'll read it. It says, during Earth Day, our students saw some videos and positive impact of the great pause of the pandemic on the environment with cleaner skies and cleaner oceans. The students brought up the idea of utilizing this type of pause to help our environment in the future. What ideas would you consider to help with reducing environmental impact on the future? Things like Fridays online once a month after PD days, or all Fridays online, or any other ideas. I think we can do a better job of utilizing the positive lessons of the pandemic. What are your thoughts?
You know, no, absolutely. I can tell you that there are two probably really large scale sustainability goals that I have. One of them is the total and complete replacement of all the paper towel dispensers everywhere in the district and moving to the air blades. That's kind of like my holy grail is, you know, the Costco style air blades where you just stick your hand in, it's contactless. That's just definitely one of the bigger to-dos that the administration is really trying to work on, just in a sheer attempt to address the massive amount of waste that we see with paper and paper towels everywhere we go in the district. I think that's number one. I think number two, you know, while we certainly recognize that the district is a leader in solar generated energy, we still consume a lot of energy. And I think, I don't know if it's going to be with this particular board, but I think a future board has got to start really taking into consideration alternative educational models that do exactly what you're talking about. Now, it may not necessarily be a Friday online, but it may be a future where a portion of the school day is online and a portion of the school day is on site. Or it may be a portion of the school week that's online and certain days are live. Those discussions are kind of starting to happen around the country in terms of viewing ways to do school differently, not just to be a little bit more, be greener or be more sustainable, but also new, more innovative ways to engage the learner, a learner whose learning style is constantly changing and is like something we haven't seen before. I think also when you're talking about sustainability, you know, we're also taking a look at our cafeterias, and the more cafeterias that we can get that will serve the food that's growing in the school community gardens, the more sustainable we become as a district, the better example we are for our kids. We have the UA School Community Garden program in 17 campuses, and I think it's 15 of those campuses, it's from garden to cafeteria. It's a wonderful thing to watch. And that's definitely a big part of the vision that we have for the rest of the district. We'd love to see the community garden initiative flourish across the district so that in every single school, our students are growing their own food and they're serving their own food. I mean, that'd be a wonderful accomplishment for this district. Thank you very, very much for that question around our sustainability goals.
Okay. Thank you. The next question is from Lynette Price, who's a substitute, and she has a question about benefits. She said, I wanted to make a special request to restore our pre-outsourcing retirement benefits. Before ESI days, TUSD subs had excellent retirement benefits. We qualified once we fulfilled the 2020 rule. Once we reached the threshold, our benefits carried over to the next school year. Even though we are now insourced and part of TUSD again, our retirement benefits have not been fully restored. I'm just going to skip down. Our accumulated hours do not carry over. I'm asking that our hours be considered as carryover so that we are fully restored.
Honestly, hey, thank you for the advocacy. I would say the same thing that I would say to any member of any one of our employee associations or any other employee advocating for pay and compensation. Hey, thank you for the advocacy, but we've got to turn things over to employee relations when we start talking about requests for compensation benefits. And, certainly we'll ask Maricela, make sure that we put that on the table when we begin those discussions. As I mentioned before, I'm not the benefits specialist here in terms of knowing what the criteria is, what the cutoff, what the minimum hours. I've got a very, very sort of executive overview of the requirements. And I've learned not to speak beyond that for fear of giving wrong information. So I turn things over to our employee relations director, who's able to connect our employees over to the benefits specialist. But certainly that request, we certainly will take that on and make sure that it's a point of discussion when we go into those discussions around our budget, not just with our school board, but of course also with our sub working group.
Thank you. The next person to speak is Isabel Kelley.
Hello.
Isabel, are you here?
I think Isabel is muted, it looks like.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, hi. No, it's not a question, but I do want to just thank the governing board and Dr. Trujillo for allocating the ESSER funds and reducing the cost of increase in insurance. Also, the wellness incentive program reduces the cost of the health insurance as well. And it's just a great relief knowing that we have that available because not all districts did that. So we're very thankful for that because that's something that we can count on.
No, thank you so much. I think we've seen a governing board very passionate about protecting the employees from these exorbitant, huge premium increases. And then you've also obviously saw a board very passionate about taking care of the employees financially during these tough times. So
Yes.
really appreciate the kind words.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jerry Schuster. Jerry?
Mr. Schuster.
Hello, everyone, and Dr. Trujillo, once again, thank you for for everything you've been doing over these weird 2 years, keeping the district going. Anyway, my question is the following: as we had discussed at the meeting at Saguaro High School, we were talking about the need to repair the relationships between the employees and everybody else and the parents. What I was wondering is there anything in the works that would involve a town hall meeting or forum or anything like that, whereby you have various groups, people of the various employee groups, whether they be teachers, bus drivers, counselors, administrators, food workers, etc., and the parents, so that way they can all air their concerns to each other. And like for example, we've talked about the situation where we had to cut some of the bus routes, so that had to do with the scheduling and all that, and then parents got upset, and well, the situation very well. So that's what I'm thinking. If we could have all these different groups, parents, bus drivers, teachers, etc., if they could somehow connect in a town hall meeting or possibly virtually, so that way we can all hear each other's concerns and see where we're all coming from. Is there a possibility of anything like that at some point?
Yeah, I think we could maybe put something like that together, at scale, even doing something regionally, so it had more of a small group feel. I think that's something we probably would take a look at in the fall. I do think that there is a certain amount of healing that in time that needs to pass. I know that right now, some of our teachers have very hard feelings about some of our parents, and some of our parents have very hard feelings about their local school and blame their local school for problems with online learning or their work schedule or their kids falling behind. And our teachers feel very passionately that some of our parents have been very aggressive, almost bullying, coming in and telling them what to teach and how to teach and disregarding their safety. And so I think right now it's getting everybody sort of getting back into the in-person learning. But I think eventually, Jerry, we have to kind of be more intentional about structures that in a healthy way will restore these relationships and these connections. Because if you have a rupture between school and community, basically school and parent, that does not bode well for school improvement or student achievement. It just doesn't. And so we're going to have to find a way. And I think what you're talking about are some more intentional structures that we can possibly employ in the fall. Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
Sorry. Our next speaker is Ron Tinnen. Ron?
Hello, Ron.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well.
Good. So I have a question. I know we did a survey sometime this year regarding school start times maybe being adjusted. Do you know what the outcome of that survey was? And then will there be any changes for school start times next year?
The employees have spoken, and then the parents have spoken, and they overwhelmingly rejected any changes to the school start time. And so it's not happening.
Okay.
Yeah, you need community will, you need employee will to do things like starting school at 7:30, which of course would solve the bus problem, but would create a whole host of other problems with our employees' commutes to work and childcare issues for the employees, childcare issues for the families, work schedules for our parents. So we killed it, Ron, and we're back to the drawing table.
All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you for taking the survey.
All right. And that was our last question. Unless there is any other questions, we will wrap up for today.
I do have a question. My name is Cruz Herrera. I'm wondering, where do hard to fill positions? I know that some of those teachers receive a stipend. Where do those, like for the science and the math and maybe the ex-ed teachers, where do those stipends come from?
For the hard to fill?
Mm-hmm. Am I correct to assume that there's a stipend involved when you're recruiting teachers, like they get more pay? Is that?
Yeah, there are hard to fill stipends. Some of them are paid for magnet schools from our desegregation budget, and some of them are paid from our district budget. So it kind of depends what the particular position is. I know that our employee relations director here, Maricela, can connect you to a complete directory of what assignments pay what stipends. And then there's stipends that everybody gets, like the ESSER stipend. That doesn't matter if you're magnet or wherever else, every teacher will get that. So we can certainly help you out.
All right, thank you.
Right. And one last question, and then we'll wrap up for today. So Sally Johnson.
Yes, I'm a tuba teacher. I used to teach at a gate magnet in Tucson for TUSD, and I moved to tuba in September because there was such a shortage. I'm wondering, is that going to last past the ESSER grant?
Tuba?
Tuba, yeah.
The goal is for it to last.
Okay, because I love it, and my kids are doing fabulous, and I'm just loving this program. So.
And we have, 2,000 students enrolled. We love it. I mean, as I said, as part of this call, I know that our governing board took action to approve it for next year, and that we're going to be bringing it forward for approval for 23-24, probably in the fall. to see.
Yeah, I thought the ESSER grant was good for 3 years, and it's the 4th year I was worried about. Is that not true?
So the ESSER grants covered through next year. So it's covered 22, 23, and it expires during the 23, 24 school year.
Okay.
That's when the actual expiration. So it's got another full year, and then it's going to expire during 23, 24. But the goal is for TUVA to be 100% self-sustaining, 100% self-funded in terms of not being dependent on ESSER funds. And that's the goal that we have for TUVA.
Okay.
We want it to be around for a long, long time and be
Awesome.
a viable teaching option. As I said earlier in the call, for those that believe and thrive in that mode of instruction, also for the students. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining me. These are always great. And like I said, I want to get into the habit of doing these numerous times a year, minimally at least every quarter for our parents and our employees, open to everybody. We don't cap it. We don't handpick folk. We want everybody joining and hearing what's on your mind. So really appreciate it. Hope everybody has an absolutely wonderful evening.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good